School Board. We have Christian Coates, myself, Sandy McPhee, Warren Storch, and Jonathan Swall. Sarah Mitchell is absent today. I'll stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, we have two agenda adjustments. We have a donation to add under donation review and approval from the estate of Martha Mason. And we're going to add a couple of motions under the long-range planning section, which John will start with, and then we'll make a couple motions after that. Is there any public comment before we get started? There will be another opportunity at the end. No? Okay. Deb Thibodeau is here with a presentation about Blue Ocean Summit.
Thanks for having me. And as Sandy said, my name is Deb Thibodeau. I'm the school counselor, for those of you who don't know me. I was encouraged to go, thanks to Christian, to a seminar a few weeks ago that was held at the Back Landing, and it involved this initiative called the Blue Schools Initiative. And it was basically a place where everyone who had anything to do with the marine industry gathered in this room. We were really good food, and we were told lots of jokes. But the crux of the matter was we're all concerned about the marine industry in Maine. And as a school counselor and teaching about careers, I'm certainly on that bandwagon that we need to do something. The folks that spoke were from this Northwestern Maritime. They're from Washington State, and they faced very similar critical things in their industry in terms of lack of employees, lack of kids' motivation to actually pursue maritime industries, etc. People staying in their state. Can't imagine people not wanting to stay in Washington State, but we face the same issue here in Maine. And it's really important for us at this level to help kids get excited and get connected to and see the forefront of maritime industry and what vast careers they can pursue and how we are going to try to make it happen for them easier than going to college and coming out hundreds of thousands of dollars in debt. There are folks local to us in Brunswick who are working with Maine Maritime Academy and BIW that are creating capacity in their Region 10 program for kids to access the boat at grade 10 and who are able to get apprenticeships by the time they're seniors and they walk out with a high school degree and a well-paying job. And I would love that same opportunity afforded to our kids in our region. At this time, Lincoln Academy contracts with Bath Tech at this point because their schedules coincide. I asked the question the other day of Lincoln Academy, why can't our kids go to Bath Tech, Region 10 Tech? Because they have a program that's already up and running. The answer was scheduling, which sometimes, unfortunately, that is the reality. We have to work around scheduling. So I have a meeting on the 24th of November with the folks from Bath Tech. I'm going to take my time to go and talk to them about how can we make this happen for the Bath area kids, for our kids that might go to Bath Tech, and how can we make both accessible at grade 10 versus grade 11. We lose some kids, and that's the reality as well. Some of our kids who need that hands-on learning and who may need that sort of hook to stay in school, to stay engaged, to be pursuing the careers that they want to pursue and have those careers validated. And I am right there on the train moving forward because I think I can see some of our own kids here at South Bristol being those kids that will benefit from this program. What's next? I gave you sort of the pamphlets that I got at the workshop, which are very explanatory. I love the fact that they talk about funneling careers as early as preschool. which when we do Marine Week and Space Week, we hope to do an Engineering Week. Those are the exposure activities they're talking about. Then they're talking about other types of community activities that industries open their doors, like coastal rivers, Darling Marine Center, those types of places who get families involved and who start talking career with their children. In high school, comes with early training, some interest classes that are specifically at marine resources. And then they start apprenticeship programs, and then possibly even paid apprenticeship programs as they get to be seniors, juniors and seniors. And then they may pursue post-secondary school, or they may just go on to a further apprenticeship and work in the industry. So that graphic does it very, very well. And inside this pamphlet are all the careers that were talked about. Everything from owning your own fishery and a boat, to building boats, to designing boats, to working out in for Maine Maritime Academy as merchant marine, all those types of things. They're all part of, and they tried to break them down as simply as possible into three major career tracks as far as operations, construction, and resources. This was the enticing invitation to the workshop that I'd gone to. The plan after this workshop, they said enough talking. They've already got something started in Brunswick. They want to get something started at other tech places that our kids can access, but they want to support curriculum development, they want to support community engagement, and they definitely want to support aligning all of our messages to our youngsters who might want to pursue these types of things. And the reality is, they've said time and time again, if they get people involved in these programs and they do apprentice programs, they have a 90% retention rate versus 30% retention rate when someone just walks through the door of an industry. So the retention rate, and people settle here, they're happy people, and everybody, it's a win-win. So I'm really glad to have had the opportunity. I wanted to share this with you. I think other counselors in the AOS are certainly interested in this, and I'll be sharing it at one of our meetings. But please keep this in mind, and they welcome public participation. So you don't have to own your own boat. You don't have to be directly in the marine industry. You can be just a stakeholder in this whole process and help us start these programs more locally that our kids can access. So are there any questions? Yes.
Through Lincoln Academy, do they still have the boat building in Rockland, or they phased that out?
I am not 100% sure. It sounded like they had phased pieces of it out. There are some applied programs that still do some boat work, but I don't know if it's specifically in Rockland.
So in the early 2000s, Lincoln Academy had a program, 11th and 12th graders would do half a day, and we ran, I think, 6 or 7 through our shop. And out of those 6 or 7, there's probably 4 that are still in the industry. I don't know what happened to that program.
Yeah.
But we're still open.
Yeah.
We would do it again if there's interest.
Awesome. Well, I think I'm going to revisit some conversation that I started with Hillary Peterson, because she seemed really interested in this and just seemed kind of stuck. And I don't want to put words in her mouth, and please don't publish that in the paper. Quote her or anything. I just got a sense that, like, I want to do more. That was her sentiment, was we want to make sure the needs of all of our students are met.
Yeah, there's a lot of options for kids out there.
Yeah.
It's gonna go fine.
Right. And they are doing an amazing job doing some applied learning out in the community and working with kids and finding them paid positions, actually. It's really, really lovely. And that's something that's developed since I started here. So
Right.
Well, thanks for going, Deb.
Yeah, thank you.
It's my pleasure to be there and represent us, and I plan to stay involved there. They say enough is enough. Enough of these meetings where we're sitting around eating good food and just talking. They want to put this into action, and so I told them that I want to be a part of the moving forward piece. So I'll keep you updated.
Great, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Secretary's report. I'll make a motion to approve the minutes for the joint Bristol and South Bristol workshop on September 23rd, 2025.
I'll second.
Thank you, Christian. Any questions, comments, concerns on those minutes? All in favor? So, all right. And then there's a motion to approve the regular meeting minutes from the October 7th, 2025. I'll make that motion. Second from Warren. Any questions on those minutes? No, they looked good to me. All approved? Okay. Chair's report. The next regular meeting of the South Bristol School Board will be December 2nd here at South Bristol at 5:30. The next regular meeting of the AOS Board is scheduled for November 12th, 2025 at Central Office. That one's at 6 p.m. All right. Finance report. The 2023 audit was sent to all board members, and I'm supposed to just remind you that it's available and ask if anybody had any questions to follow up on that. Okay. All right, Peter, 2026 update.
So 2026, Laurie and I had a chance to do a pretty deep dive, which we don't get every month, but we had the opportunity this month to really scrutinize the lines in the budget. And I also did some preliminary work checking encumbrances to make sure that the salary and wage encumbrances throughout were accurate, because we've had some issues with that since moving to our new payroll system Apicom. And what we're reporting here, and there's a few lines that aren't being, where payroll isn't encumbered, and I'll mention those here, but everything that is reported is looking accurate, which is the most important thing. And the second thing I'll mention is that there are a few lines, we lost, how many teachers this year, like 4 or 5?
Yes.
And some ed tech, so the people that we budgeted on are people that are in the building. So you see that we're running a little hot in regular ed on both teachers and ed techs. But the 27,000 there, 27.5, whatever it is also made up within that same cost center by the fact that you have a couple less students being tuitioned out to secondary than we originally budgeted on. So, regular ed kind of is balancing itself out between the overages on the ed techs and teachers from the change in position and the underage, if you will, in the tuition. In SPED, you're not seeing the SPED teacher encumbrance or the SPED tech salary encumbrance here, but those are actually both pretty accurate. In fact, you have about $1,000 left over in each one of those to the good. So, so I'm not too concerned about that at all. Your other lines, most of your other lines throughout this are individuals, and they're all pretty accurate. I mean, in terms of budget to actual encumbrances included, et cetera. And you also have the custodians run just a little hot. So we noticed that there was some increased cost to employees, et cetera, but overall, going each one all through, I'm not concerned that that's going to create a financial problem for you, especially with the drop in the secondary tuition. One of the things that we've done here is you'll see there's a new column for this budget called revised budget, and that's really just for the other instruction cost center, where we did a budget back in February that was passed in March, based on the Burns Fund being status quo, but it actually increased by about $15,000. So we've added that, and Laurie's new breakout of that here, and the available amount is calculated off the revision, not the original. So that's something that's actually, that's not in Aptifund. I've added that to this Excel report for your benefit, and I will each month going forward. But we'll be able to track that. Throughout the rest of it, there is, we're at a point in the year where we haven't, we've done a lot of the purchasing of things, but we still have bills that we'll have to just keep an eye on as they come in month to month. And then we don't know if there's anything unusual going to happen this year yet, because there's still so much ahead in terms of any kind of facilities issue that pops up that we have to deal with, or anything that we thought we might deal with that we can't for some reason. So overall, I think that Laurie and I concur, we're about as good a shape as we could be right now. In terms of understanding, where we are and it being where we project it to be. We've also begun to look at next year and to do preliminary work on the budget. And the big things we look at, the big that are sort of all over the place are that are the most dynamic lines, or what is that secondary tuition number, because that can, kind of push you in either direction. And it appears, the number I had as we headed into this year's budget, so going back to February, it was the last time I was able to update that number for what you're looking at in this budget, was 36 students. And what we're reporting on now is that they have 34 right now. And the numbers that I'm seeing, for next year would indicate that you might actually be going down a few, down to 31, because you have pretty much the same, you're only half a student different between your 12th graders and your 8th graders, but you have had some kids that didn't successfully pass through your secondary and have dropped out, and that's pushing your numbers down a bit. Now, these numbers are tracked by the superintendent's office. Todd and I have had some conversations about that. It's a hard thing at this early in the game to know exactly where you're going to be. We've just submitted enrollment counts to the state. They're getting double checked right now, and we have a lot of movement throughout the year. And we'll keep dialing that number in between now and February. But what I see for right now is that you might be able to save $65,000 on your budget in secondary costs going down, okay? Now, that the teachers are going to go up somewhere in the order of 5% with the step and the wage increase, and that is going to give you about that would give you $25,000 increase, but we're going to be 15 more than that because of the ones that we've just changed. So you're looking at about $40,000 increase in your teachers. And then, some number in the order of $25,000 increase in support staff. So you're looking at 65, which means that those two big numbers might just balance each other out, which would be great news. And then, I know Laurie's doing a lot of level budgeting for the supply lines and things like that. So if all things hold together throughout this process, and as the whole process is just beginning, I would say at this early stage, from what I see, you have a chance at having just a very modest increase next year, except for the fact that when you shift into this new model system administration, assuming that all goes through, I don't have those formulas yet that are actually going to be decided, and that there's no budget for that system administration yet. So that would be, I think that if there's an increase there, that would be essentially the bulk of an increase that you'll be experiencing over, say, a 2.5%, 3% increase. So which may mean it's a good year, to kind of take on that, because it's not a year that you're seeing your secondary to go up by 10 students or anything like that. So that's the preliminary forecast. What I'd like to, I know it's been some email circulating today, but the sooner that we can schedule a budget development workshop, the better. So I saw a couple of dates floated out there. I saw a lot of either one works for me. I know you're not resolved on what date that is, as far as I know yet.
Not yet.
But when you are, Laurie and I have already done a lot of the work on both the HR plan and on her lines, and secondary comes from the superintendent. We'll be ready. So if you were able to go for the earlier date, I would encourage them, because we can be ready and we can dial this in pretty quickly. The work on the ESC budget, I don't know how and when that is going to be scheduled until all the other steps are kind of resolved. So, but that's only a couple lines, so we can do the rest of the budget at any time and add that in later.
Okay.
And of course, you won't get your 8279 subsidy number till the last couple of days of January. So there'll be different pieces of data that arrive over the next couple of months. But I'm confident we can meet any schedule, to kind of do all that as the information comes down.
Can we take a moment to look at that budget workshop date with you and your calendar? Do Do you have your calendar? So we were looking at the 21st or the 6th, and Peter's suggesting we should try to get in on that 21st. I would prefer to meet in the 9 to 12 range instead of the 1 to 4 range. So we've been tasked with nailing this meeting down.
What dates?
The Friday, the 21st, or Friday, December 6th. Fifth, sorry, Sarah said the 6th, and now I'm all messed up.
Right.
For both of you, bye.
Peter? I have students. But I am good for either.
I strongly recommend going with the 21st. December is, especially going to that December is after your board meeting.
Right.
So we'd be having a December board meeting, having not had a budget. I really think if you go to the 21st, you should.
Great.
Will you calendar invite the board to the 21st?
Yeah, you said what time?
9 to noon?
You got it.
Thank
21st, yeah. 9 to
you. Noon,
Okay.
Where?
central office. Awesome. Jonathan, that looking okay for you?
Great.
Awesome.
Thank you, guys.
So
Yeah.
9 o'clock.
Peter's gonna send everybody an invite. All right, principals report.
Yes, we've had a busy month. I feel like every month's busy.
He's doing it.
I got it. Already done.
On the 8th of the month, we had Maine help come for a flu clinic, which is always great. Well, the kids don't love it, but keeps them healthy. Our morning meeting, which is the whole community, we've been doing some Math for Me games, which really just helping kids see math in our regular world all the time, no matter what it is. Hoping to help people just help the kids feel a little more comfortable with math and not be scared of it at all times this summer. Soccer season's over, so our 5th through 8th graders have started taking advantage of Makerspace, which is what Ms. Rowe does with the kids on Wednesdays, Tuesdays actually, and Extra Art with Ms. Pryor for pre-K to 4 has also been widely attended by the students. And our phys ed classes, 5th through 8th grade, went to Cider Hill in Waldeboro to play disc golf for PE. Some were quite reluctant, especially in the middle school and the 7th and 8th grade, and they actually loved it, which we knew they would. And our teachers had conferences the October 20th through the 30th, and we had about 80% participation with the pre-K through 4th grade, and about 60% in the middle school, which is common, unfortunately. And 6th through 8th students went to Bath for the Hyde Leadership Conference, where they got to hear Gabe, who was the keynote speaker. He's a player on the Hearts of Pine, and apparently they all adore this man. Very, very inspiring. 8th graders had their Halloween party, where they raised over $1,000 for DC and had a successful dunk tank again, which I ended up avoiding. I don't know how that happened, but it was okay with me this year. 5th and 6th grade, Mr. B and I took the kids to St. George, where we were able to interview students, teachers, directors, superintendents about their makerspace, really. It's like an industrial arts program with a kick. And our students interviewed the other students and just found out what they enjoy doing and how they spend their classes out there. It was very inspiring for all. And then that was on LCTV this past week. And clubs, yes, we had, again, another successful pumpkin run. We had multiple students in the race, which was great. I think it was all of our 7th and 8th grade girls, actually, which is just different from other years. And we have a couple in the Lincoln County News showing how hard they were running. Boosters Club had a successful cleanup and barbecue where the list of things that they got done is just I couldn't even add it all. But removing stumps and trimming bushes and limbing trees, all of the things that really help help the curb appeal, I guess, of the school, and it's helps us for sure. One of the really important things they got done is they got the kickboard up, which is what our Artists in Residence project was last week, where kids painted their affirmations on the soccer kickboard. We're hoping to move it to the other side so that it can be more well seen by everyone.
I think Neil got the kickboard up.
Why, thank you. That is amazing. We appreciate it. We had our soccer awards banquet where the parents played the students again, and for the first time in 21 years, I found out the students won. They were pretty pleased about that. Lots of cheering the next morning.
Doesn't say much for the parents.
Well, no, it's okay. They're really athletic kids. Basketball clinics have begun, and we have 6 girls and 2 boys playing at Bristol this year, and Jen and I are talking about which games to have here at South Bristol and which games to have at Bristol, because that's just a step, I think, in the right direction for our combined teams.
Sure.
On October 10th, our entire staff went to Booth Bay for Playworks, which is a Maine Help sponsored program where you help teachers, help students understand different types of games so that we have a variety of games that they can learn in phys ed class. They learn the rules, and then we can move those to recess. We're already seeing some improvement with some kids just using a common language when it comes to playing with their classmates, peers. I attended a training, which I'm sure Todd will talk about, Title IX training at the central office with Drummond and Whitson. And our final staff meeting of last month was part 3 of the Anxious Generation. Our teachers are really enjoying Minimal Tech Mondays, which I know some people were nervous about in the beginning, but teachers are enjoying it. Kids are really enjoying not being on their computers or iPads. They'll call adults on it every once in a while on Monday because it's Minimal Tech Day. And our staff is already talking about what book we will read next when it comes to technology and the development of our students. And I think I may have found it. So one of our staff members found it and shared it with me. But I'll have to read it first. Facilities. Okay. Peter, there's been a lot going on with the facility. Sorry.
So, it was my projection.
I know. There is money that I was planning on going somewhere, and I think it might not be. Colby and Gail came to look at the Renai heaters in Salties because one is failing miserably, and since I've been in there quite a bit during rest time helping pre-KK, I realized what they've been talking about. Right now, it's not working well, but it's also obnoxiously loud. They're about 30 years old, so we asked for quotes to replace them and quotes for heat pumps because in the warmer season, we still have air conditioners in the windows, which we don't like for many reasons. So we got the quotes, and we're talking about $15,000. I did have it checked with Bayside Plumbing, just trying to check all the boxes and all places, and they said they definitely can't beat the Dave's World quote that we have. So I'll be passing that on to you guys, and maybe we'll talk about it for the next meeting. And Shed City started working on the siding in the shed and finished it in the first week of the month. And Johnson Control was here to address deficiencies in our fire alarm, which is working great now. Eric Albee has been to look at the roof. We definitely still have an ice issue, and we're going to need some of the ice guards. I know it's $200 a linear foot, so he's looking at which areas. I know, that's the quote I got. He's looking at where we really, really need them for safety reasons, because the whole surface is not a good idea. And we don't have a quote on that yet, but he will get back to us with that. And it's not Affordable Fire. Eastern Fire was here to do their quarterly inspection of the sprinkler system. Affordable Fire does our extinguishers, I learned. And then a freezer went in the kitchen, so Pine Tree, I know. Pine Tree Kitchen Services has been here. They looked at the old freezer. It's gonna be about $3,900 to fix. It's very, very old. And to get a new true freezer is $4,900, and that's the suggestion that Michelle is making. Definitely what Elaine would like and what I feel like we probably should do too. I have both quotes here. I know it's not one of the ones that I have to ask permission for because it's not over a certain amount, but I just wanted you guys to be aware.
Okay.
I think that might be it, unless you have any questions. Yeah. We did, we got a new phone system. Can you tell us about it? Because I didn't put it in my report.
Never do.
John! Tell us.
We'd love an update.
IT does well, you never do.
I know, we just done it so smoothly.
No, it is a safety issue. I think we don't have, we've been depending on our staff to use their cell phones forever, apparently, which probably is really not okay to ask them to do that, especially if they're calling parents. They're talking about students, the caller ID, of course, means that the parents have all of our staff cell phones, which, you know, in any other building I've ever worked in would never happen. So, so that's one of the things that we were trying to do. Also, the cost of the landlines that we have are, while not exorbitant, are more than we need to pay to get the services that we have. So we have sort of adopted a phone system that's by the same company that does our network is, and our cameras as well. So it's all tied into the same sort of thing, which is great. And we have 2 new phone numbers. Unfortunately, I'm trying to talk to before I really publicize the number. It is on our website, but nobody really goes there to see it apparently. Before I publicize it, I really want to finish my conversations with the Public Utilities Commission because there's an issue with porting numbers and how they regulate that right now. So I'd love to take the 644 1877 or 8177 and take that from Tidewater and move it to basically our own phone system. But they're pointing fingers at each other as to why we can't do that. So, you know, as soon as I have that resolved, one way or the other, I will, you know, we'll make it known that we're slowly moving from, you know, the old number to the new one, if we have to do that. And we'll be shutting off some of those extra lines that we don't need it. So we should be able to get phones down to well below $100 a month. You know, it's not a lot of money, but something. And we'll be getting more phones as my budget allows to flesh out the administrative offices, the teacher's room, and staff classrooms as well. There's also one out in Salties because we thought that one is also a safety issue, so she can dial out if she has to 911 without or whatever without using her cell phone.
Great, thank you. Thank you, Sean. All right. Superintendent.
Great. On October 16th, we had our monthly Midcoast Superintendent Association meeting. We did think about those meetings. It's good to have members from the VA virtually. So Dan Schuler, our partner, joins us, and so does Kevin King. So that's good. Talked a little bit about professional development. Talked about the opportunities that may present themselves to do more collaborative PD down the road. I think everyone, to some degree, is struggling a little bit with PD, especially in smaller schools, as we are. So they are talking about doing something as a collaborative group and focusing on the content. Those teachers that teach at the content level, which would be more your secondary teachers, and grade level spans, which would be pre-K to 8 buildings primarily. So we're talking about doing that. We did talk about West Kitchener, and we mentioned him before, and I would say the staff are looking to Florida for, no, actually, not. I would say staff found him to be very engaging and very worthwhile, which was good because there was some hemming and hawing about going with the ridiculous return to Ottawa again and see him. But the feedback from across all the districts was positive, so that's what we're exploring for down the road, and that would be simply continuing regardless of what configuration, be it in ESC or in AOS, still be represented, so we still be available to staff down here. Let's see, the 18th has been working hard. One of the key areas we've been focusing on is our workshop day, which is scheduled for Monday. You should have all received an email from me, which had identification of the sessions that we're going to offer. We have 3 different blocks of time, and we're offering anywhere from 6 to 8 sessions that staff can select from. I did share it with the board and also said, please feel free, if you're available, that you want to pop in and just see one of those PD opportunities, please do. The keynote will be very good too, because the administrators talking about it will be good for building into the keynote speaker as well. So that's it, NCS at Hillsborough on Monday. Other things that we've been doing, we've been reading the book, and I may have already shared this, apologies if I did, but Rethinking Teacher Evaluation and Supervision, a book by Kim Marshall. There are really 2 platforms out there that we could, for evaluation. One is Marzano and one is Marshall. We currently do Marzano. The administrators are reading that just to see if they believe there's more benefit for the educators as far as feedback, as far as the feedback that they get. So we're reading that in book studies. So every 18 meeting we talk about different chapters of that book. We can't make that decision as administrators to make any kind of a change like that, because by statute, our PGPE, Professional Growth and Professional Evaluation group has to be majority teachers. So that group has actually, I don't think they've met recently. Yeah, and they're shaking their head, so I guess not. I've extended an invitation to all those members of that committee to meet with me on that Monday, since we're all going to be in a group already. They're going to pay around 2:30, and we're going to have Kurt Jack, who is our eye observation person, which eye observation is just a tool to realize the evaluation, regardless of which evaluation model you work with. So he's going to join us as well. So I'm going to offer them up the book to you as well. I will do a structured book study with them. I'll just give them a copy of the book so they can read it, because that group will be plus reading with the administrative team. We've been looking at the assessment calendar. Obviously, we've talked about curriculum and the area that's been lacking. So we've been looking at aligning curriculum and making sure we know what's being assessed. We focus on the fall right now as we go through the year and to spring. I will be attending the Coast Curriculum Leaders Meeting coming up in a couple of weeks. I'll let you know about that once it's happening. School closure, we've already started talking about what's going to happen on school closure days, as far as remote days, as far as traditional storm days and then remote days. At this point, South Bristol's all remote from day 1. Jefferson is all remote as well from day 1. Looks like Bristol's going to try to go with 2 traditional days, then a remote day, and Mobile is going to go with 3 traditional days and then transition remote. I think we only used 2 last year, knock on wood. Somebody's told me that their mother says there's no acorns on the ground, so it's going to be a mild one. Take it, what it
Don't
is.
tell my husband.
Hopefully. So that's the work the 18's been doing. As was mentioned, we went some offered Title IX training, October 16th and 17th. It was a virtual training. So on the 16th, it was real focused on district level administration's responsibility for Title IX complaints. So it was Dominic and myself that were there primarily watching that one. On the 17th, the administrators joined us because that focused on the role of the building level administrator should there be any Title IX complaints. I will say that throughout it, they offered quizzes, and I would say we did pretty darn well on the quizzes, because we got the answers soon after. But we did that as a collective group, but I think we did on that, so that was good. On the 22nd of October, I was at the Maine School Superintendent's business meeting. That's what happens yearly, and it's always the day before the MSMA Fall Conference. And I attended that on the 24th, 23rd, and 24th. Those were all 3 of those days where we were best to see them. That's pretty cool.
All right. Donation review and approval. The school has received a donation from the estate of Martha Mason to the amount of $29,831.10. I'll make a motion to approve or accept that donation.
Second.
Christian's gonna second it. Is there discussion? Is there more information? Todd has a
No,
letter.
I signed a letter and notarized, one of the ladies that works in central, well, actually, three of them work in central office and notaries. One happened to, I was not there, so I did sign that. I shared with Sarah, the signed version. I have the stamped one, you can't see the stamp on the scan that I sent to her, but we're gonna keep that in central office. And, it's in essence, as I already said, we'll accept the money. What the board's doing is just giving us the authority, or giving the school the authority to now.
Do we know who Martha Mason is?
Sure.
Yes.
Yeah. Do you want to lens?
The last house on Rutherford Island, and maybe one of the first houses to be built. Long-standing,
Long-standing community member.
and just a lovely woman, read the New York Times. So,
She is loves the arts and theater, and so we're trying to figure out, the best way to use these funds to honor.
Great.
yeah, she was really a lovely person.
Sandy, what's the second?
It's the White House all the way out on the spit.
Is it white? It's,
You can kind of see the thread. Yeah.
and another place on Ridge Road too. Ridge Road?
I don't know.
Yeah, near the town hall, close to the town hall, lovely, pretty farm. Yeah. They bought the land from the Indians.
It's kind of before the time, but yeah. All right,
Sorry.
all in favor? All right, communications recommendations. I guess we could put phones there, but none. Old business, none. New business, none. Policy. We have some policies that are coming to us from Todd in the form of samples. They are not first reads. Todd and I scheduled a meeting to draft our first reads on November 24th. So please review the samples and send me any suggestions, comments, changes, edits before that meeting. And then Todd and I will bring you back a first read next month.
I'm giving you one that John,
Want one more?
Yeah.
we did it, Jefferson Village School. The temperature one just says Jefferson Village School on it, because that's the one that John wanted me to press some language on.
Okay, so no motion here, just take a glance at these samples and let me know if you have any.
Now, Lori, did we talk about camera?
No, we talked about phones.
Cell phones.
Yeah.
That's one of them. One of the schools talked about also a policy around camera use, security cameras.
We have some, if you would like. I
I've
don't know
got
if
it.
it's policy or guidelines, but I know that I've read a lot. So your meeting, sorry, I want to make sure I get it for the notes. 24th, and board members should get suggestions to you before that.
Before the meeting on the 24th, yes, that would be amazing.
Because in the first read, you can get
And
feedback.
we'll still bring a first read
So you'll
next
still be
month.
able to get feedback.
All right, any questions on policy? All right, I'm gonna move on to long-range planning and hand it over to John to update us.
So a lot has happened in the last month or so, but I'll bring everybody up to speed in case you haven't been following it as closely as I have. We submitted a part one of the application to form an education service center to the DOE on September 5th. And a few weeks later, we were approved. Basically, it's a notification to tell the DOE that we're working on this. The committee work was ongoing right after that, and we were forming an interlocal agreement or a draft interlocal agreement. We met on the 30th and the 15th, and then subcommittees met as well in the interim. An interlocal agreement subcommittee met a few times to sort of hash out some of the details that has to go in the interlocal agreement, including governance and finance, and cost sharing and that sort of thing. Other subcommittees had already started as well to work on the job descriptions, at least for the key positions in the ESC. And after some back and forth with the DOE, the last couple of weeks, we finally submitted our application part 2, which had to be submitted to the DOE in time for us to, as a board, to vote before November 30th in order to have an ESC started and running by July 1st. And they accepted that application on the 22nd officially, and that consisted of a draft budget, an interlocal agreement that was signed by the 2 board chairs, and the Part 2 application. We have to vote for the ESC before the 30th in order to start, as I mentioned, and as of today, we have confirmation by a couple of people at the DOE that the interlocal agreement and the Part 2 application has gone through the approval process at the DOE, and we were expecting the commissioner's signature today, although I don't see it, but I was assured from the person there that manages the application process that the email that she sent me this morning at 9 said that we are all set to go forward with our meetings this week, and it's just a formality to get the official letter from the commissioner, so which she's working on.
All right.
So that's what I have. Do you have questions that I forgot or left out? There's all the updates from what I've mentioned are on our websites for everybody to see. I'm probably putting too much information up there, but we're just so excited to get info from the DOE that I'm just posting everything they send me.
It's a great page.
It's okay.
Full of wealth of information, so. Okay, well, I think we as a board are prepared to make those motions.
Yeah. Okay, these are long, so pay attention. I move that we notify the AOS 93 board of our intent to withdraw from AOS 93 on or before June 30th, 2026, in accordance with the withdrawal process outlined in the AOS 93 interlocal agreement, section 15, and that we form a withdrawal subcommittee empowered to negotiate with the AOS 93 board to finalize the withdrawal plan. This vote is rescinded if Bristol Public School Board does not also approve withdrawing from AOS 93 before November 30th, 2025.
They meet Thursday night.
So we'll see what Bristol does Thursday. I'm gonna make a second. Second. Any discussion? Questions? Comments? All in favor? All right.
Okay. So I will also move that the South Bristol Public Schools, having received approval from the Commissioner of Education, hereby approves the proposed interlocal agreement for the formation and joining as a founding member with Bristol Public Schools of the Johns Bay Coastal Alliance. The South Bristol Public School Board commits to the terms outlined in the JBCA interlocal agreement. This vote is also rescinded if the Bristol Public School Board does not also approve joining the JBCA before November 30th, 2025.
I'll second that as well. Any questions? Discussion? All in favor? So moved.
Thank you very much. That was a long process, but a successful one.
That is a wonderful motion. Thank you for all of your joint efforts on drafting that. Okay, I have no future board topics on my agenda, so I'm gonna open it to public comment before we adjourn. No,
Got nothing?
nothing?
Okay.
Excellent. Without objection, I will adjourn this meeting at 6:20.
Yeah.
What is that, record?
I think it is,